Okay, so nothing super groundbreaking here today. This is going to be a lot of information and then a theoretical discussion, which we've got some really good people in this group to have a pretty solid theoretical discussion. So I hope that you guys jump in. But um, what we didn't get to cover last week was kind of from the 2025 before that. So after the meeting, I'm going to email everybody two links to the Real Estate Insiders Unfiltered podcast, two episodes, episode 1 and episode 2, where James and Keith kind of interview and discuss with the practice change with the lady that is the general counsel for the NAR. And it is really good. There's tons of questions, there's tons of information, and you're getting it literally straight from the source, the real story. It will do if a lot of it you've heard over and over and over again, but there's a lot of nuance to it that I think is pretty interesting. It is only going to expand your understanding of the concept of what the practice change is. So it's definitely worth watching. I will say this, and James kind of alludes to this. He asks a bunch of questions. Remember that the podcast is not NextHome branded. It is real estate oriented, which means that there's people from all different companies and brokerages and everything else that are watching this stuff and following this stuff, and that's what it's designed to do. So when he talks about practice change or anything else, he talks about letter of law, although he does slip in what I'm about to say. Letter of law, there's some things that we still don't do as a brokerage and as a company that's to the letter of the law, right? And it'll say that in the email that I send you at the podcast. It says, remember, you're going to hear him talking about when you can use these words and when you can do this, but we don't do it. Like we just don't, because we don't need to. And he kind of slips that in too. At one point, they're talking about when cooperating commission is okay and under what kind of guidelines it's okay. And he straight up says that our company doesn't do it. Like you don't need to do it, so we're not going to do it. So keep that in mind. But I'll send you the link. Watch the episodes when you get a chance. They're very informative, and it's nice to get it straight from the NAR and not have to read it. You can just listen to it and watch it. Now, back to where I started. So what we didn't cover last week in the meeting were kind of the legal predictions that James and Keith had for 2025, and I want to go over those because I think they're pretty interesting. Number one, the Department of Justice will likely be more distracted with other issues under the new administration than the previous administration. What that means is that you know, 3, 4, 6 months ago, the likelihood that the actual DOJ, federal government, was going to sue the real estate industry was extremely high, like 9 out of 10 high. Today, it's not gone. Okay, it's not gone, but it's probably 2 out of 10 high. Okay, 2 out of 10 high. They have other things on the agenda that they're concerned about, and I feel like real estate has kind of gone down several rungs and it is kind of on the back burner. Oh, by the way, if you ever get confused as to why that might be, you might want to research what our commander-in-chief does for a living before he became a grand showman. He's a real estate guy. So DOJ pressure, DOJ concerns, DOJ worries, probably much lower than they were 6 months ago. It's a good thing. I'll premise that comment with this next comment. This is not a political statement by any stretch of the imagination. I'm not talking or promoting politics or talking or downplaying politics for either party, either side, whatever. This is just fact. This is absolute fact. Okay. The next round of lawsuits. The next round of lawsuits are going to be individual lawsuits. They're going to be related to the practice change. They're going to go after individuals, and they're going to go after individual brokerages not part of a class action for not following the terms and the guidelines of the practice change. The difference between these lawsuits versus the lawsuit that they did against NAR is, NAR had a pretty big war chest. NAR had access to member fees. NAR had all kinds of stuff. Individual brokerages don't really have the wherewithal. You sue an individual brokerage for $5 million, they're done. It's over, right? The only way that most brokerages can get through that is to file bankruptcy and just make it go away, right? Most brokerages don't have $1,800, $2,000 an hour to pay for an attorney, okay? Not for very long anyways, okay? They don't have the war chest to be able to have this long litigious battle. It's gonna put people under. They're gonna go under. Individual agents are gonna go under. Smaller brokerages are gonna go under. A brokerage like ours would go under. There's no doubt about it. And the lawyers they're not going to care. Okay. So they're just going to shotgun this thing. They're going to sue everybody. And the ones that go under, the ones that go under, and the ones that have enough to kind of fight it out, they're going to beat them. And here's the premise that it's going to fall under, you guys. If you get caught violating the terms of the settlement, that means that you're not protected by the settlement. Because a condition of protection under the settlement is that you follow the terms laid out in the settlement. You with me? So if you don't do it, you're not covered. And you just got this big giant target. It's like firecracker in a bass pond. You know what I mean? Like, it's that easy. So one of the reasons that I keep talking about it over and over and over and over again, and I'm going to keep talking about it till you're just absolutely sick of hearing from me, period, is because, look, the reality is we can't violate the terms of the settlement. We can't go outside the terms of it. We can't even flirt with the edge of the terms of the settlement because we don't have deep enough pockets to withstand a lawsuit like that. We just don't, So I'll be honest, we just don't. And anybody that says they do is probably full of it. Like, I don't know any brokerages in Auburn or Greater Placer County that can handle that lawsuit, right? I don't know any of them. So that's the next round, and it's coming. The other thing that they are very, very concerned about is a TCPA lawsuit, and that would be a class action lawsuit. Does anybody know what TCPA is? If you do, raise your hand. If you don't. Okay. Thankfully, we don't have a big kind of TCPA violating in our practice. TCPA is the Telephone Consumer Protection Act. Okay. And don't let that fool you. That's voice calling and texting. Okay. Voice calling and texting. All right. The thing that really gets people in trouble as far as violation is concerned is something that looks like this. Steve has a real estate brokerage, and he starts affiliated business arrangements with a lender and an appraiser and maybe a home improvement company, and maybe a media company, right? And maybe a moving company, and maybe a staging company. And they're all in concert and all cooperating. So what they do is if any one of them gets a lead, that lead gets distributed to all. Okay. It's a very, very common practice in this industry and lots of industries, really. All right. That's illegal. Well, it's not illegal to distribute them, but it's illegal if the lead comes in on Steve's website. The only person that can reach out is Steve. Now, he can still distribute the information, but they can't make a call. They can't make a text. I don't even think they can make an email without saying, yeah, I want that. right? So the legal process would be, okay, you hit my website, I'm Steve. I'm going to contact you and let you know, look, all these people work in my network. Is it okay if you hear from them too? And they would have to opt in individually to all those things, right? That's never going to happen. So, this is very, very common practice, very, very common occurrence in our industry. And they think the next round of class action lawsuits is going to be related to that. Now, thankfully for us in our brokerage, we don't really have that issue, right? We don't distribute our leads to a network. Okay. We really only respond to inquiry, right? Most of the time. If we do farming and they're on a DNC or something like that, we honor that. But 99% of everything we do is opted in by the consumer by default. Okay. Also, our CRM in the auto marketing and the auto campaigning make sure that they comply with the rules by default. Right. So as long as you aren't doing anything really crazy that's outside of stuff that we talk about all the time, we're good. Okay. We're good. The fourth thing that they thought about, and this is starting to pop up all the time. You guys seeing all of the independent MLSs popping up? You getting advertisements for those or invitations to those or any of that stuff? These are non-NAR MLSs, independent MLSs, things like real estate listings. Or there was a new one the other day that I saw that I can't remember the name. We don't care because, we like NAR and we like MetroList and we like all those things. But they're starting to pop up, and the attrition rate from the NAR isn't half of what it was forecasted to be. Meaning, when all this went down, there was this kind of instant knee-jerk movement where everybody said, we're leaving NAR, F NAR, we're out. They screwed us over. That's really not happening on much of a grand scale. And they really feel like NAR makes a comeback this year, slowly. And when I say comeback, I mean kind of a return to credibility, a return to trust by the membership as a whole, a return to realizing that I think more and more people, once more and more people realize what NAR does and what they really are and what their qualities really are, then they start to realize, it really wasn't their fault and it was only a matter of time. And, did they handle it perfectly? No. But did they do an overall good job? Yeah. We're all still here. The practice change was pretty minor compared to what it could have been. I don't believe, and I could be wrong, I don't believe we're getting any big giant fee increases to pay it back, right? Not yet anyway. And we still have all the protection under the settlement that they negotiated. We still have all of the lobby power that they provide for us all the time. People are going to realize that, and NAR is going to kind of come back to credibility. They're hiring a bunch of new people that have good reputations for building relationships in the industry. They feel like the NAR is coming back, and that's good because I really don't want any of these stupid independent MLSs that don't know what the hell they're doing getting any traction and confusing ultimately our clients, right? Think about that. We're pretty fortunate where we live and where we operate. It's pretty well locked in, but think about that. Think about Sacramento, greater Sacramento. And when I say that, I mean all the counties that we work in around Sacramento. Think about there being like 3 MLSs there. A nightmare, right? An absolute friggin' nightmare. Like, we don't want any part of that. So hopefully that continues and things get better. I think that they will too. I tend to agree. And those are the quote unquote legal predictions for the year. Anybody got to chime in on that or have an opinion on that or have anything to say about that? This next part, I think you're going to have an opinion on.
Does that count for interoffice? Like if you get a lead on realtor.com and share it with us?
No. It would have to be an affiliated uh, business. So
Okay.
technically, if we share it within the office, we're all the broker, right? Or an agent for the broker. So inside of our office is really all the broker. So no, we're safe there, but that's a good point, Steve. Thank you. No? Okay. All right. This is where I'm not kidding. We have for this discussion, we've got people from construction, people from real estate, people from the lending industry. We've got a good broad range of age and varying levels of experience. So I'm going to ask you a question and then we're going to discuss it. And those of you that aren't here, I hope that you get the benefit from this. What happens if the economy goes to shit? Let me clarify. Also, let me have a disclaimer. This is not a political discussion. Okay? But you cannot argue that the political landscape in this country has changed significantly. Okay? That's going to bring up certain possibilities. All right? That's not a political statement, that's a reality statement. That's an economic statement. And when I say when the economy goes to shit, I'm not talking about the real estate market because realtors sometimes when they talk about the economy aren't really talking about anything except for the real estate market. Okay? I'm talking about the economy in general. So let me give you some examples. What happens if the stock market corrects 15%? What happens if the labor market goes to shit? What happens if trade stress, okay, trade stress is sourced from tariffs causes something to occur in the stock market, i.e., prices increasing, i.e., consumer confidence lowers, i.e., lowers the stock market? What happens if, in general, policy issues that scare, let's just make it real easy. Half the people in this country love them, half the people in this country are scared to death. What if that causes a contraction of people spending and we go into a little quasi mini recession? What happens to us? What do you guys think? What happens to us in the real estate market? What happens to us in the real estate market if the stock market has a 15% correction? Anybody got a guess?
Lower
15%.
wages.
15% correction, by the way, is a huge correction.
Yeah.
It
That would be
freezes, it
layoffs.
freezes the market all the way around.
Unemployment.
Freezes the market all the way around. Unemployment, yeah. Unemployment increases, yeah. What else? Give me something else. Look at Don. Don's sitting there quiet, waiting to drop the hammer because he already knows the answer.
Well, but prices will drop on homes.
Will they?
Oh, heck yeah.
Okay, why?
Because when you lose money and you can't pay your mortgage or you lose your job, all these things you talk about, it doesn't, real estate still controls the world. I know technology, people think it's technology, but if you don't got a roof over your head, you don't have technology.
Right.
Okay.
So
So
you're
if
talking
any of
about
those sectors get hurt, it affects real estate in a big way. But
okay, so
you have to redirect the way you do your work because now you're going to get some deals.
right. So you're talking about an impact to demand in real estate which affects price,
Right.
right? Negative economic situation which creates a further reduction in demand, and that reduction in demand affects the price.
Right.
Very good. Yes, I don't disagree. What else?
People move.
People move. Okay, now he's starting to scratch at it. What else?
Due to job changes.
Job changes. Yeah.
Yep, we're gonna get a lot of that.
Yeah. Yeah. So all of that you're talking about is kind of bad, isn't it?
Depends on your perspective.
It sure does. It sure does. Um, Let me ask you this. Let's say that the tariff deal doesn't work out quite the way our commander in chief thinks it will. And let's say rather than, boosting American manufacturing, which by the way will take 6 years.
Right, 10 years.
Yeah. Rather than doing that, what it really does is increases the prices on all of the stuff that our world loves to buy by 12%. What happens?
Interest rates go up.
Do they?
They do. When you start, a lot of times when you start messing with the way our world is now with tariffing, you got interest rates connected to that.
I would say that consumer spending goes down,
Right.
right? I'm not going to say the other half yet.
Yeah, stock market will typically drop.
Stock market goes down, right?
And rates usually go down at the same time.
Rates go down. What's America's gross domestic product? What do we make? What's our leading category gross domestic product in this country? Anybody know? The largest portion of GDP in America. It's not a thing anymore. It's not a thing anymore. It's consumer spending. They measure our gross domestic product in consumer spending. It's not cars. It's not oil. It's not steel or any of the things that it once was, when Motown was Motown. It's consumer spending. So when you affect consumer spending, that in and of itself could create a retraction or even a recession. Think about that. Let's say that happens. What does that do to us? What happens? Don?
People start buying again.
We get more business.
We get a lot more business. Do you want to know why?
They're not afraid of the rates now. And the rates that they do have are comparable.
The Fed will send the rate screaming down. Right? Because Alan hit the nail on the head. Real estate controls everything. And in times of crisis, real estate fixes, at least appears to fix.
That's a temporary fix. When they do that, they're going to cause a bigger recession.
Right. Absolutely right. But keep in mind, most administrations are only concerned about the next 8 years at the most.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Next 8 years at the most. I give you COVID.
That was so fake.
Right? I give you COVID. Everything's getting shut down. Again, I'm not making political statements. Everything's getting shut down. Economy's going into the tank. Nobody can go to work. Nobody can buy anything. Nobody can go on trips. Nobody can fuel our gross domestic product, which is spending money, because the only thing they're spending money on is DoorDash and Netflix because you're locked in your house. Okay? What happened to the rate? How did they fuel our climb out of COVID? Real estate sales.
Mm-hmm.
Real estate sales. COVID was the most, pardon my French, COVID was the most batshit time in real estate since 2003, 2004. Right? Alan remembers that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Alan remembers that. Why are we having this discussion? Here's why. Okay. I think that you're going to start to hear scary words. Really scary words. Okay. I understand that's not the position of the administration. I understand that. I understand that, and I appreciate that there is this great glowing bit of confidence that the economy is going to do better given the new administration. I love that. It doesn't bother me at all. But the reality is that there is a possibility that some of the things, some of the economic policy could backfire on them. Okay? Could really backfire on them. And if that happens, you're going to start to hear really, really scary words. Okay? You can start to hear things like recession. You're going to start to hear things like correction. Okay? You're going to start to hear all these things. I'm here to tell you, and I cannot wait to put this on YouTube because somebody's just going to come after me, okay, and tell me what an idiot I am. Those words, they don't scare us. They don't scare us at all. Because if that happens, the Fed's solution will be to get us back to 5. Okay? That'll be the only thing they got. It'll be the only thing they got. They'll get us back to 5. And thankfully, we live and work in an area. And when I say area, I'm talking about a large area, a 4 or 5 county area that doesn't give a shit if there's a recession. Okay? Our income levels are great. We have pretty secure jobs. Not we, our clients. Pretty secure jobs. They have good sized nest eggs. They're not. Our clients are not paycheck to paycheck folk. Okay? They get an interest rate that makes sense to them. It's go time. It's absolute go time. Okay? So I don't want you to start freaking out if you start hearing those things, because as bad as those things might be on one hand, and as ugly as they might be on one hand, but remember what I always say, real estate is hyper local. In our world, it probably doesn't hurt us. In fact, it might even help us beyond what we would have done without it. I still think 2025 is going to be better, way better than 2024. I still think the attitude out there is improving almost every day. Like, it's good. Confidence is good. I think that's going to come back. I don't think that we're going to have a giant economic problem. Okay? I really don't. But we could. And if we do, I don't want you to freak out. Okay? If you start hearing things like recession, correction, I don't know, give me some other scary words. Anybody else got the scary words that come up? You're not going to hear bubble. We used to hear bubble a lot, but recession, correction, words like that.
Economic downturn.
There's a good one. That's a double scary word. That's like a double Scrabble word, Don. You know, you start to hear stuff like that, what you got to understand is the solution is a lower rate. Okay. The solution is a lower rate. And a lower rate fuels business in our area differently than it does in Manteca. Okay. What do you guys think? Your take. Alan's like, this guy's nuts. He's always been nuts.
You know, I mean, you know, if I speak, then they're gonna think you're sane, so I'm keeping shut. I can give you the 100-year plan, starting
Yeah.
100 years ago.
Yeah.
It's a cycle. I just read it, and, you know, as a developer, you know, that's how I was successful as a developer, reading the market. And a lot of what you're saying is right, but also you're leaving one thing out. Back, you know, in the day when we had this problem, we had inflation where we needed labor to catch up with product. Labor's starting to catch up. We need another 6 months and labor is going to be equal product. Maybe a little sooner because, like you say, the government got to look good. And this guy needs to look good fast, okay? Because he's made
Yeah.
a lot of stupid promises and he put his guys next to him to look good. So
Yeah.
they're going to do whatever they need to do. And labor and products going to equal out, and then the market's going to be a standard market like it's supposed to be. No boom, no recession, just 3% growth a frickin' year, and then in 10 years we'll have our next recession to balance out again.
I mean, that's
what's going to happen.
That's a great take. In fact, I hope that they do feel that pressure to get something done, and I hope they can't get it done, and I hope they have to go to rate. I mean, like that would be great
But
too.
it doesn't even matter if they don't go to rates. I mean, the people are getting brainwashed now at the high rates and with their credit cards, and 7% is cheap. Okay.
Sure.
And if it does go to 5%, it's not going to help the people who already exhausted their income and everything and everything. It's going to help the people who bought at 7% to refinance. Okay. I don't think it's going to happen. I think we're gonna level out and just kind of land that plane. And it's not going to be fast. It's not going to be dramatic. It's just going to be life. And this next year is going to be better. And I think the following year is going to be the same as this next year.
I'll take that for the record. I'll absolutely take it.
Oh God, that's perfect. That's how it's supposed to be, so we don't get in trouble.
Don, you're the smartest guy in the room. Give me your take.
No, I think it's going to be a good year. I think, yeah, there's going to be a lot of news. They love to bash the economy in the news and scare everybody because that gets people to watch TV.
Yeah.
But I think it'll be a good year for real estate, especially if they can get rates to come down a little bit.
Do you think that, we talked last week about this kind of up and down line with some peaks and valleys, but a control line somewhere around 6.5, 6.25. Do you think that's accurate, or do you have some kind of hope that that control line is kind of lower than that?
I'm hoping it goes lower, but that if everything kind of holds steady, I think we'll be right around there. If the economy takes a turn for the worse, then I think it'll drop lower.
Yeah. Okay. Michael's like, I'm not giving a take. I'm out of here. Steve, what do you think? Any thoughts, input, response, any kind of take to that stuff?
I just, I think hopefully everybody just now starts to relax a little bit now that we're done building up to the election. Everybody, all right, we can maybe settle into it.
Yeah.
And see where we're going to be for 4 years, roughly.
What do you think, Jess? Oh, hold on.
Is it working? Am I echoing?
No, I'm muted.
Well, I think that if interest rates drop drastically and quickly, that would be amazing for us. We would all hopefully rearrange the way that we do work, but in the long run, it would end up possibly being higher than it is now. It's like logically how that works. So it would be really great, but it could be really bad in the long run. Having to catch up on all that is my guess. I mean, I'm not like a lone person, but that's my young person take on it.
Oh, well, that's a good take. Like, you're absolutely right. And that's what happened. That's why we are where we are right now. 2% in the pandemic, and now we're paying for it. So, Michael, got any takes? Think I'm nuts? What do you think?
I know you're nuts. I like that about you. So, yeah, not really. I really don't know.
Yeah.
That's the part that I know for sure, is that I don't know.
Yeah, well, that's okay. I mean, the truth is I don't either, like this is all just theory, really. And again, the only point I want to make is for us to realize it's really, really easy to, hear a few things in the media or hear a few bad pieces about the economy, or to hear some kind of grim news about the economy, or the, the dreaded two-letter Scrabble word economic downturn, it's really easy to just panic right away, and to just feel kind of hopeless and sick to your stomach. And it would be the opposite of what I've kind of been preaching for the past 4 or 5 months, which is that I think that this year is going to be a good, steady growth year. Not without its problems, its affordability problems, like I said, but it's going to be a good, steady growth year. To go the other direction might be really, really scary. And the point of all of this conversation and the long conversation is, if that happens, if you hear that, as sadistic as it sounds, that's not necessarily bad for real estate people. Okay? It's not necessarily bad for real estate people. I hope that it doesn't go that way. I hope that we have the nice smooth landing or nice smooth takeoff like Alan was talking about. I hope that we just kind of plug and, at the end of the year, look at 3 or 4% increases in price or appreciation, and a lot better increase in activity because of confidence and being more comfortable with rates. I hope that all the things we've been talking about, that it goes that way. I don't want to see the stock market go to crap and have, 5% interest rates. I don't want to see that. I don't think anybody really does. But I mean, I'd much rather see the stock market take a crap and see 5% interest rates as a real estate agent versus a stockbroker. So I just don't know how we lose, guys. I just don't know how we lose this year. I feel more and more bullish by the minute. When we start to hear things like, "Oh, this is going to blow up in such and such's face, and this is going to take prices up," it's like, "Oh, well, that sounds like crap." Except for the fact that I know they'll take care of it with the rate, I'm okay with that. I just don't see how we lose, which means we got to be ready. All the things we've been talking about, all the stuff we're working on, all the crap we're doing, we got to be ready because it's coming, man. I'm telling you, it's coming, and it doesn't really matter what happens out there. It's coming. Good time to be bullish. Got to get through the last little part of this suck and get to the good stuff. Okay, 44. Anybody got anything they want to add or include or question or anything else before we get the hay out of here? No? Everybody's smiling. This is great. What a happy group.
We all think you're crazy, man.
I am crazy.
No,
I am
no,
crazy.
You're making me feel like you're doubting yourself.
Oh, I'm not doubting myself at all.
Good, don't, because
No.
it's going to be an awesome year. Trust me, what
No.
I'm saying is true. It's going to be an awesome year.
Yeah, no, I'm not doubting myself at all. In fact, it's
Good,
just
good.
the opposite. I'm really, really bullish because I don't see a downside. Like
No,
even if something bad happens economically, and like I said, it's going to sound really, really bad, but I don't care. Like,
what?
it'll
Tell
end
me
up
one thing
being
that could
good
happen.
for us.
Tell me one thing that could happen.
I think the stock market is fragile. I really do. Like, I think that, I mean, it's been a hell of a run in that thing for a long time. Even considering, I mean, when you consider the fact that that the Dow has performed the way it has amongst you know, some pretty significant inflation numbers and an election year, I think that's a
That
little fragile.
that was hyped up, and I know exactly what you're talking about. I follow that, and I knew it was going to get hyped up. And you're right, the market's is gonna do that. It's gonna do that jet thing, and then run out of fuel and back down. But it's not gonna. It's only gonna hurt those people that are in the market. They're not in the real estate market. It's not gonna affect market. It's been doing that for the last 4 years. You should have seen what it was doing during COVID.
No, I agree. I agree with you overall.
Yeah.
Like I
So
said,
hear
I
this
think,
though. Let's say you're right. The stock
Yep.
market crashes.
Yeah.
Well, the
Well, I
rest
don't
of the
think,
world, is not in war anymore. All that other stuff is better. You need all these things to come in all at once for the generation of the people we have now to get scared, because they don't get scared like you and I do.
uh-uh. No, I
Yeah.
agree with that too. I agree with that too. And like I said, I don't think it, even if it has trouble, I don't think it crashes.
No,
I don't think it crashes. I think it corrects. And I
the
think that
people,
maybe that screws stuff up enough to where we get a little bit of a rate.
those
You know,
screw people that bought into one sector, let's say, because they think this guy's in, like you watch Bitcoin, people go into there, they're gonna get hurt, you know, and they're gonna make some money and then get hurt. That kind of stuff you're gonna see, but that's always gonna happen.
Yeah.
Yeah,
yeah, I think you're right. I think chances are better that we just have the year that we've all talked about.
yeah,
I
I
do.
think so.
I do. I think that the chances are better that we have that. I also think that if it starts to go squirrely, and again, the whole point of this is if it starts to go squirrely and you start to hear bad words, you shouldn't worry about it
Right.
because I don't think that we get hurt.
No.
That's a pretty good deal. Like, that's a pretty good deal. It's either going to be a good growth year and things are going to get better, or it's going to be a good growth year because the rate is better. It's one or the other. Like,
Mhm.
I'm fired up. Absolutely
Good
fired up.
deal.
Yeah. So be ready. Quit messing around. Steve dropped his first YouTube video today. Shit is happening. Okay. That it? Alan, you want to argue with me anymore? Or are we out of here?
Well, I'm not arguing.
I know. I'm messing.
I'm just putting my spin on it.
I'm
I
messing
think,
with
good deal,
messing.
man.
Okay. I will see you guys later. You know where to find me if you need me. Don, I'll see you in a minute. All right.
Good deal.
Peace.
See ya.